Bonjour et bienvenue à la language fluent. Je m'appelle Muskan, aka The Smiley, and today, guys, I'm back with yet another exciting video under the TEF course playlist Learn TEF in 15 days. So, in the previous video of the TEF course playlist Learn TEF in 15 days, we discussed about a very important TEF exam, that is the writing part. We discussed a few examples and plus we also discussed the tips and tricks and the advices that I have for you guys that you can clear that exam up. But in today's video, it's gonna be very informative. Why? Because we'll be having a lot of examples that are directly picked up from the TEF sample papers or the TEF papers itself. So without wasting any time, let's practice section A and B of the writing part. Let's get into the video. We have General Presentation de l'épreuve. Let's discuss that for section A first. So, in section A, you have in total, only 20 minutes to complete your section A. And here are a few types of questions that you will be getting, like articles from the newspapers or any newspaper story that you need to continue further. Now, type the document, say, le début de article de presse. As I said, any newspaper article that you guys need to continue forward. And here the objective is to continue that story. Okay, and like I explained in the previous video itself, you need to combine your two things here. Okay, the first one is your vocabulary that you have for grammar and for the TEF exam that you're preparing. And the second thing comes out to be your creativity and the imagination. You need to combine both of them together to make sense to the invigilator. Okay, and minimum words that you require are 80. So that means 80 to 100 words are more than enough for section A. And if we look forward to section B, here I have divided it into 40 minutes. Why 40 minutes? Because here you're supposed to write a letter that might be formal or informal. Okay, like let's see a few more things about it. Une phrase extrait d'un journal. They might be giving you a extrait, okay, an extract from the journal that you're supposed to address. Okay, you're supposed to throw up your arguments that you have against it and further write a letter about it. As we discussed in the previous video, there should be minimum 3 arguments that you need to present to the invigilator. And the words that you require are minimum 200 words. Minimum 200 words. That means 200 to 250 words are required to complete your l'épreuve B as well. So in total, these activities or section A and B is of 1 hour and you're supposed to write minimum 300 to 400 words in only 1 hour. Now, this chart that you might be seeing on the screen might seem a little scary to you at first, but once I explain it, you're gonna love it. Let's see. So it has qualité et l'efficacité du texte produit, maîtrise de la langue écrite. So basically these are the 2 points that you need to consider while doing your writing exam. Like qualité et l'efficacité du texte produit. What is the quality and efficiency of the text that you're writing? Maîtrise de la langue écrite. And what is the master? What is the level of the language that you're actually writing down? So let's see them in detail. For the first one, qualité et l'efficacité du texte l'épreuve. Here we have the first point, that is, le consigne, elle est respectée. The instructions that are given to you, are they actually respected? It's not required that you're supposed to write just 80 words. They can exceed as well. But since they have written minimum, say 80 words, for example, so you need to write that much. That means if you're writing less than suppose 50 or 60 words, you're not respecting the instructions that are stated to you. This is the first main point that you need to work on. Second comes, l'argumentation est-il bien développée? Now, the arguments that you are telling to the invigilator, or you're writing or you're presenting in the article, are they actually well constructed? Are they good presented? Are they well presented? Plus, are they actually well developed? Now, what does this well developed means? That they should be stated well. The vocabulary, the logic behind it should actually match to each other. Third comes in, les informations sont-elles précises? Détail, the information that you're giving in, is it very informative? Is it detailed, or you're just telling us the global thing? Global things doesn't really work in the newspaper articles because you're doing 80 words. So you're supposed to write each and every detail. If you're throwing 2 to 3 arguments, in those 2 to 3 arguments, you're supposed to tell us each and every detail so that we can get to know that yes, this happened and we can imagine that in real life. Le texte est-il cohérent et clair? So the text that you are writing, is it actually coherent? Is it clear to read? Can the invigilator just read it once and understand that what you are trying to present? If that is it, so the first point that we just discussed, qualité et l'efficacité du texte produit, you match all the requirements here. Whereas under maîtrise de la langue écrite, here we have again 4 points. The very first point states that le vocabulaire est-il précis et adéquat? So the vocabulary that you are telling, the vocabulary that you are writing down there, is it adequate? Is it precise? Is it actually matching to the topic that you are writing on? Next comes le temps et mode sont correctement utilisés. The tenses that you are using, the modes that you are using, are they actually correctly used? Like, suppose I am describing the event that happened in the past, so that means I need to use either 3 of the tenses. That can be imparfait, passé composé, or plus que parfait. So I need to be wise while choosing them. If I don't know plus que parfait, so it's better not to use them, otherwise I'll make grammatical errors. L'orthographe est-elle maîtrisée? So the orthograph of your sentences, is it actually matching the level? Now, actually in the writing part, what happens is we can check the orthograph in many ways. Like I can judge by reading the orthograph of your text, like whether you are A1, A2, B1, B2 or C1 or C2. So the orthography should be worked on. Then comes les phrases sont-elles simples, assez élaborées, plutôt complexes. The phrases, the sentences that we are presenting, are they simple? Are they complex? Or are they elaborated? If they're simple sentences, so what is the main idea that you're trying to present? If they're elaborated, they shouldn't be that much elaborated that we get off track. And if they are complex, then we should be very careful while framing the complex sentences. Everything should fall in a proper order. Further, if I go more deeper into it, like if we say that how can you actually pass your section A and B? Comment réussir dans les sections A et B? I have a few advices stated here. The first one goes out to be under the point qualité et l'efficacité de l'écrit, that is respecter la situation. Respect the situation that is given to you, that is stated to you. It's not that they have written this accident took place on this time. So you have to respect it. You have to see that what the examiner wants you to do, what ideas he wants you to present. You have to respect that situation accordingly. And what are my conseils? Quel est mon conseiller ici? What are my advices here? The very first one goes out to be organisez votre texte. When you first read your exam, or if I read the text that is given to me out of section A, I have a lot of things going in my mind. There are many things, many ideas that strike just at once. So use your draft sheets well, state down all the points one by one that you can have in your mind. Then you're supposed to organize that text. Okay, then see that which idea matches well with the one. Okay, then create it logically. Next comes in clarifier votre argument. You have to clarify the arguments that you are stating. They shouldn't be vague. They shouldn't be out of the blue. They should be very clear and matching the stuff that you are telling to the people. Nuancer et développer vos propos. Now, you have to develop the purpose out of it so that the audience, that is the invigilator, is actually interested to read it rather than just, checking it out and giving you the marks. That's not good. If you are able to develop the interest, if you are able to develop his interest, it's always good. Okay. Now we have maîtrise de la langue écrite. Variez votre lexique. Why this point is very important to you have variety in your lexique, in your grammar, in your communication. Because one thing that we are reading over and over again is always boring. It creates monotony. So it's always better to have multiple lexiques. Adaptez votre style d'écriture à la consigne. Now, one thing that we should learn here is that everyone has their own style of writing, own style of presenting things. It's not always good to copy someone, okay? Like suppose I get to know which sentences I have copied from somewhere and which one Okay, so I was saying I know which sentences I have copied from somewhere and which is my style of writing. So if I can actually match those two, I am golden. Okay, like you should not lose yourself while learning something. Just remember that you should actually be adapted to the style that you have in your writing. The essence should be there. Now, next point comes in. Faites attention à la correction de la phrase. Temps, mode, genre, etc. You have to be very careful while writing your sentences. See for the things like verbs that you have used, the tenses that you have used, the genders that you have used. Multiple things are there while framing a sentence. So actually see that the order of the sentence actually does it make sense or not. Respectez les règles de ponctuation et mise en page. Now, punctuation, okay, punctuation marks are very important. Be careful to add them. Why? Because here we can get to know that where we need to stop reading and where we need to start over again. Okay, now let's come to directly section A's instructions that we have, and then we'll see the question and I'll give you a sample answer to it as well. Alright, now let's see the examples of section A here. So the very first example that we have, we'll cover it in three parts. First we have the type of the document mentioned, objectif de document A, consigne, what are the advices, what are the things that you need to follow while doing the writing section A. So here the very first thing is type de document. So the type of document is le début de l'article. It is very well stated earlier as well that you'll be getting the startings of the article which you're supposed to continue, and here you have to make it go to 80 words. Minimum 80 words, and it can carry forward to 120 or 140 words according to the time that you can frame for yourselves. Consigne type, le début, terminer cet article. And how does it goes? You have the debut, the start of the article, and you're supposed to end, terminer cet article. En ajoutant à la suite du texte de 80 mots minimum, 80 minimum words are required. En faisant plusieurs paragraphs, and you have to divide those 80 to 120 words in different paragraphs so that it is easier to read and it looks like an actual article. Now, here we have the example number 1. Un incendie se déclare dans une ferrejo. Okay, now here you have the sample reading answer. You can go and check it out, and once you're done reading, I'll be back here. Okay, so here is the sample paper question that I've picked for section A. That is, un incendie se déclare dans une usine ferrejo. So here is the sample answer that I have provided you for writing part section A. You guys can complete reading it, and let's get started with section B then. Alright guys, I hope you have finished reading yet, right? So now we have another example for section A itself, because I wanted to prepare you guys a little more before proceeding further to the section B. So let's see the question number 2 or the example number 2 that I have for you guys. That is, trouver à deux maisons par téléphone de commettre un étonnement dans un magasin. And here is the sample writing answer that I have prepared. You guys can read it. Now I hope that the section A 2 questions that I provided you are clear to you and you can rock your section A. Let's proceed further to the section B, and here we have the same advices that we followed for section A, but let's just look at the instructions given here. The very first instruction is type of the document that you will be having. Une phase extrait de journal. So basically you'll have an extract from the journal and which you are supposed to decrypt, understand and continue forward. Objectif, exprimer son point de vue et le justifier. Now you have to explain your point of view and you have to provide proper justifications for the arguments that you are giving. Consigne type, phrase issue d'un article de journal. So basically you'll be having some press article or any issue that is happening publicly and you're supposed to write a letter on it. Écrivez une lettre au journal pour dire ce que vous en pensez. Now you have to tell what you think. You have to throw arguments supposingly to that thing, and here you have to frame minimum 200 to 250 words. Développez au moins 3 arguments pour défendre votre point de vue, and you have to have minimum 3 arguments to defend yourself. Okay, here is a sample question that I have picked up for you guys for the section B practice. It is, la destruction des forêts tropicales est inévitable. So here's the letter, sample letter provided to you. You can read it at your own pace by pausing the video, and I'll see you with some few more advices. Now here in the letter, you guys might have noticed that I have more than 3 arguments and I have justified them as well. I have used proper tenses, proper words and proper linking devices or the connectors to link these ideas together so that they don't sound absurd to the one who is reading them, that is your invigilator. Now, let's see how you can improve your language skills. The very first point in improving your language skills can be the dictation. You can take the help of anyone that is around you to give you some dictation and you can revise it accordingly. You can pick particular vocabularies throughout the day. Like first day I'll pick the home vocabulary, second day I'll pick the transportation vocabulary, third day I'll pick the environment vocabulary. So I can practice each and every word under that category so that it can help me when I am in the need of the words. Correct someone else. When you're correcting someone else's writing, it's going to help you a lot. Why? Because there you'll identify a few errors that he or she is making and you can work on your problems at themselves. Why? Because when you actually correct the tenses, when you actually correct the verbs, you're practicing yourself. And analysis. That what does it mean? Like, we are not talking on a technical basis, but here my main motive to talk about this is so that you can analyze your writing. Take your 3 to 4 earlier writings or the sample writings that you have done in the past, study them thoroughly and see what kind of mistakes are being repeated. Okay, you can also request some of your teachers to check it for you, alright, or the person who knows French, so that they can identify the same type of error that you are making. Maybe that can be your vocabulary, that can be your grammar, that can be your tenses as well, so that you can improve on that points for the future references. Now, let's look forward to a few recommendations. My very first recommendation here would be regular. Practice your writing on a regular basis. Why do we say that you need to practice it on a regular basis? Because when you will be practicing on a regular basis, only then your vocabulary, your verbs, your tenses will improve. That is the only chance that you can improve them. Otherwise, there's no scope to improving it because there's a limit that your mind has set, right? You cannot remember 500 words in a day. So it's better to, revise these things, be regular under them. The second one is set limits. Set limits for yourself that how many minimum words you need to write and how many maximum words you need to write so that you can actually write according to it. Okay, if I know that minimum words are 80 and the maximum words are 150, I can set the limit that I need to write approximately 120 words so that in your final exam you're not committing mistakes like counting the words at the point, because that wastes a lot of time and you don't have that much time, especially when your reading is considered or your writing is considered. List your most common mistakes. Write down your most common mistakes that you feel like you're doing again and again in your each of the writing. Why? Suppose there are some tenses mistakes if I'm doing. So I'll practice that tense upon, I can practice that grammar topic and improve my skills on it so that when I'm considering to take the final exam, I don't make the mistakes there. Write on a paper and don't type. There's no shortcut to your TEF exam. So if you're not appearing for the online exam, it's better to practice writing it from your hand, because we don't practice writing at all. We just cram up the ideas, and when we have the final day, our hands are not prepared to write that much, and that could actually make you like 5 to 6 minutes, and these 5 to 6 minutes are a lot when you're considering your TEF exam. And last but not the least is very important, that is to track your progress. Why tracking your progress is important? So that you can actually mark your milestones. Like last time when I did, these were the mistakes that I were doing, and these were the points that I was working on. Today I have overcome those points, the progress has been made, and these milestones can actually help you grab the points that you need to work on. Now, I have a few quelques derniers conseils as well, a few last of my advices that can help you while giving your TEF exam, especially for the writing part. Let's see them. The very first one is lisez bien vos consignes. So basically they have given you a few set of instructions. Please go through it very carefully. Try to understand what does the question says. Don't be excited at that point, you just read the question and started writing it off. Try to understand what the invigilator wants you to write and match the requirements accordingly. Utilisez les brouillons. Now, What does utiliser le brouilleur actually means? It is that you need to use your own drafts. And what do I mean by drafts here? That you might have, actually seen a topic and written some rough ideas on it. So before going to your exam, be careful that you need to, refer to them. Why? Because they can actually make your, head lightened up with a lot of ideas that you might not have at that point. Okay. The next point is respectez les nombres de mots. Kindly respect the word limit that is given to you. If you are writing, like nearly 60 to 70 words and the minimum word requirement was 80, you're not actually meeting the requirement. And if you're writing too many words, like 150 to 160 words, even when the minimum words were only 80, you're actually exceeding that. So who's got the time to read it all? Who got the time to read it throughout? So it's better to write, minimum 90 to 120 words so that you can actually stay up to the mark and the invigilator doesn't get bored to read it out. Soignez votre écriture. Soignez votre écriture. Now I think that this is the most important point when we talk about the writing exam. Why? That is, you need to take care of your writing. Be careful of your writing. I am not talking about section A and section B here, but your literal writing, like how you write things. Sometimes in a hush, when you start off the paragraph, it is so beautiful, and by the end, there are few words that we cannot even understand. So make sure that you're managing your time accordingly so that your handwriting remains the same throughout. Now, the next point that we have is relisez-vous. That is, reread yourself. Reread whatever you have written, reread it yourself, so that you can actually identify the mistakes that you have made, and you can actually rectify that where the grammar problem is there, and you can change it accordingly. And last but not the least point is gérez votre temps. And what is gérez votre temps means? Manage your time. This is the advice that I have been giving throughout the sections of the TEF, whether it's reading, writing, listening or speaking, that you need to manage your time accordingly. Just remember, section A 20 minutes, section B 40 minutes. Wherever you feel like the time is exceeding the 20 minutes, you need to stop there and start up with the section B, because it carries more weightage, right? So that is it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and you find it very informative. I'll take my part of it today. And do not forget to subscribe to Language Fluent's YouTube channel, and see you in the next video. Au revoir, à très bientôt. Bisous bisous.